All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, after the start of the 2020 Summer Olympics, it didn't appear that the United States men's basketball team would win the gold medal, but they were indeed the last team standing in Tokyo. The United States knocked off France in the gold medal game by the score of 87-82, and this marks their fourth consecutive gold medal in men's basketball. Now, Team USA did struggle early on as we saw them lose consecutive exhibition matches to Nigeria and then Australia. And then after the United States lost their first contest of the Olympics to France, there was a lot of skepticism to say, what, would this team even get a medal, more or less win the gold? But, after that loss to France, the United States, they really hunkered down as blowout wins over Iran and the Czech Republic, respectively, in group play allowed them to get their sea legs collectively. And then, in the medal round, we saw the United States beat both Spain and Australia by double digits. Now, Kevin Durant was the leading scorer in each game of the medal round. We saw this guy go for 29, 23, and 29, respectively. And, in doing so, Kevin Durant really quieted some of his critics during his Olympic performance because you look at it, granted, there were some good quality players on this team, some star caliber players on this team, but it wasn't that quote unquote star power that we've seen from the last several Olympics for Team USA. And a lot of that was due to injuries. You figure it was a shortened off season between the 2019-2020 campaign and the 2020-21 campaign in the NBA, a 72 game regular season, and guys were injured. A lot of the big names that you expected to be there were not. There were still some great players on this team. You look at the likes of Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, and Jason Tatum, just to say the least, that really, they chimed in and they had a big part of the United States being able to win the gold medal once again. But, the spotlight was on Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant, showed that he's not afraid of that spotlight. I mean, we saw him during the postseason put his Brooklyn Nets team on his back, and they came up just short in the second round of the NBA playoffs against the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, there's no doubt that KD is one of the best players in the world. I mean, if it's a situation, if Kevin Durant's not the best player in the NBA, then he's definitely number two. We know what he can do when he can put a team on his back. And, he showed that once again during these Olympics. And, also credit to head coach Greg Popovich. He took the torch from Mike Krzyzewski and he kept the machine going as the United States won another gold medal. And, it's a lot of things that you have to look at inside of this team. It's a situation where, they faced a lot of criticism, the United States did, after those two exhibition losses. But you look at it, they were able to get their sea legs. There were all again, there was also some skepticism after that loss to France. But you know what? The bottom line is everybody involved, everybody that put on that uniform didn't stop believing in themselves. And that's the most important thing because people are always going to have things to say, positive and negative. You just have to deal with it. But it's a situation, these guys are able to channel out all of that noise, focus on what they said went to Japan to accomplish. And that's exactly what they did. Also, credit to guys like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Devin Booker. All three of these guys played in the NBA Finals. And of course, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday were NBA champions, and they represented the Milwaukee Bucks in this tournament. But you figure these guys came from playing a 72 game regular season, playing very deep into the playoffs, extra deep when you think about it, because the NBA playoffs did not end until last month when we're accustomed to seeing it end in June. And you know what? These guys still turned right around and played competitive basketball versus the world. And when I talk about that, a lot of these other teams that were in this tournament at the Olympics are represented with several NBA players on their roster. So you know what? Credit to guys like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Devin Booker after making those deep playoff runs to turn back around and contribute to the United States gold medal victory. You look at it, and for Durant, he's added to his resume. This guy is already a two-time NBA champion. He is an NBA MVP. You're talking about not only one of the better scorers of his era, but one of the better scorers of all time. And I think the one thing that is missing from Durant's resume right now is he needs to go out there and help the Brooklyn Nets win that NBA championship. And I know that the Brooklyn Nets were decimated by injuries in the postseason. Of course, the Kyrie Irving ankle injury really hurt them. Then you look at James Harden; he was a shell of himself, and KD had to try to put that team on his back. And he tried as much as he could, but he simply could not get them over the hump in the second round. Granted, if Kevin Durant's shoe size was one size smaller, the Nets would have been in the Eastern Conference Finals. But nonetheless, I think that is the next step for him because there are going to be those people that are still going to look at him and say, "Hey, listen, you left an OKC team that was up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and then you joined that Warriors team. And yes, you got your two NBA championships, but there are still going to be people out there that are not going to give Kevin Durant the credit that Kevin Durant feels that he deserves. So I think if Kevin Durant were able to help the Brooklyn Nets win that NBA championship, I think that would put a lot of that to bed, and people would probably start giving Kevin Durant the respect that he feels that he deserves. You look at it right now, KD's legacy. It's a situation where you know what he was the guy on this team, and he stepped up. And you think back since 1992 when Team USA exclusively started using current NBA players. And you look at it, of course, everything on the 92 team centered around Michael Jordan. You think back to the Redeem team in 2008, and a lot of that, centered around Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. And of course, the last couple of sessions, rather, in the Olympics, a lot of things focused around LeBron James. This time it was Kevin Durant's show. And you know what? He kept the party going. So I think this adds to his legacy. It adds to a stellar resume. When the NBA soon releases their top 75 players of all time, Kevin Durant definitely has to be on that list. Not even in the mix to be thought about, but he definitely has to be on that mix to be a part of that great list. But nonetheless, I think KD is really showing, and he showed this time around that he can get it done. Don't forget about me. I'm still a very bad man. So this adds to it. I think this is great for him. I think this is great for a lot of those players that were on the United States team because you have guys. Again, they weren't the quote unquote big names, but you know what? They went out there and they got it done. And for their sake and for the sakes of their respective teams, they should be able to bring some additional confidence amongst themselves into their respective training camps heading into next season as they look to all propel off of this. So, you know what? Credit to Team USA, credit to Kevin Durant, the likes of Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, so many other good players that came up there and contributed for this team. And now the United States has once again claimed a gold medal in men's basketball. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.